Good evening. I'm Linda Croce-Anderson, and this is Silicon Valley Metaphysics. And tonight, my guest is John Carosella. And John is a shamanic practitioner and co-owner of Firefly Willows.
Yes, that's
Welcome,
right.
John.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So let me ask you, what prompted you to start a place like Firefly Willows?
Well, the short answer is a gigantic leap of faith.
I bet.
But the longer answer is, I'd been in high tech for 25 years, and it was challenging. High tech is challenging. The thing about high tech is, for as long as you love it, it's awesome because you're in with the smartest, most exciting, most, take the initiative, take charge kind of people. You can create wealth, you can create value, you can see the value of what you're doing, and the feedback is terrific. But as soon as you don't love it, you have to run as hard as you can in a race you don't love. And it's just like, so, my life was shifting. About 7 years ago, I got serious about my shamanic practice, about developing my shamanic toolkit and exploring this part of myself. And through that process, I had some pretty profound transformations occur in my own personal worldview. And, I just started to drift away from the focusing my energy in high tech and into focusing my energy somewhere else. And I wanted to be more me. I wanted to be more whole. And it seemed like high tech wasn't doing it for me anymore.
Right.
So when I left in November of 2009. I really didn't know what I was going to do next. But I knew it was going to have something to do with the artistic side of myself or the spiritual side of myself or both.
Right.
And we found a place. Actually, the place called to us, the footprint of the location, and it was just being emptied, and it was just available, and it was right on Main Street in Los Altos, and it was like a friend of mine said, John, when the universe wraps something up like this in a bow,
right,
if you turn it down, you got to ask yourself, what's it going to take for you to say yes?
Right.
So, in spite of my background in business development and market research and all that kind of stuff, with nary a page of market research, we jumped in.
All right.
And it really was a leap of faith, and we decided to just go for it and see what we would learn, really. And it's been a challenge on many levels, but never the kind of challenge where you say, oh, I wish I hadn't done this.
Right.
It's always the kind of challenge where you say, oh my gosh, I cannot believe what I just learned about myself, and why did it take so long for me to learn this? That's how I feel. I feel like I'm growing leaps and bounds. There's so much realization happening in me that I can't execute on it all. It's like, oh wait, there's something I need to work. Oh wait, there's another one. It's just
right.
Like on and on. So the power of this experience for me and for my family, really, we're seeing growth all around us. And
Excellent. So the day you woke up, you came home, you told your wife, who is a very nice lady, by the way. I've met her.
Thank you. She's spectacular.
She is. And you said, honey, I'm quitting. I'm quitting high tech.
Oh, that. Well, it didn't actually go that way. It was more like, the period of middle of 2008 to early 2009 was an intensely hot crucible. It was so painfully hot for me.
Yeah.
And I was asking my spiritual tools. I was consulting my shamanic friends and the runes, and I was doing everything I could, saying, "Get me out of here.
Right.
I want out. I want out. I want out. What's my way out?" And they kept saying, "Do not leave yet. If you leave now, you will miss an important opportunity. You will miss something important." And my health was starting to be affected.
Yeah.
My shoulder had deteriorated. I couldn't, it was like it was a disaster. I felt like every day I was on the job, my life was shortening by a month. like literally, like, oh.
Yeah.
And, but I said, okay, if I really want to walk down the spiritual path, I have to trust my spiritual guidance. Otherwise, what kind of spiritual guy am I, right?
Right, right.
It's like, if they're telling me to stay and I'm not going to stay because I want to do spiritual stuff, well, it doesn't make any sense. So ultimately I said, okay, fine. You want me to stay? You think it's important for me to stay? You say there's a gift in this for me? I'll stay. I'll stay if it means I end up with no energy left to do shamanic work. I'll stay if it means that my health deteriorates further. I'll stay on this job if I have to die on this job.
Well, that was a little negative, wasn't it?
Well, because I was in a pretty bad mood because I didn't want to stay. But the truth is, I did surrender. I said, okay, this is what you want.
Exactly.
This is the guidance. I'm in. A month later, I got the amazing breakthrough. It was in a conversation with a friend of mine, for whom I will be forever grateful, or to whom I will be forever grateful. And we were just having a conversation, and I was, of course, whining about how I didn't want to be in high tech anymore. Mm-hmm. And she said one sentence, and it took me back, and then we chatted another 30 seconds or so, and then she said another sentence, and it was like all of a sudden a wall came down. It was like my whole world before that point had been constrained. Like it's like all of a sudden I could see in color, or all of a sudden I walked out of the woods onto the Great Plains. I was like, oh my gosh.
The clarity came.
What am I seeing? Like everything about my behavior in the world would be affected by this awareness, which had been a blind spot for me for a long time. And after that, it was like, wow. Now I know now. And okay. So after that, I said, well, with this new awareness, high tech could be okay. It might not be bad. And then I went, so that, on the weekend, I went and did some journey work, and my spirit guide said, yeah, you can leave now.
So what was it she said?
Oh, it's that's a long story, but and it wasn't so much the words that she said, but the way it impacted me. Okay. It was just I realized that a fundamental level, that I had a lack of respect mm-hmm. for the world, for myself, for other people, in ways that I never really, it was like, wow, I never really realized I was like that.
Well,
and it isn't even that people who would talk to me, and subsequently I talked to about this, they say, we never thought that about you, or that's not, but inside I knew it was like this, like something had just turned over.
Well, it's like we were discussing before. You would ask me what do I love about La Honda, moving up there. And, there were days I'd go to the store and it was like playing Pac-Man.
Yeah.
I'm getting in the car, I'm looking out for bicycles,
yeah.
I'm getting in the parking lot, I'm looking out for people backing up, and then when you get in the store, it doesn't end there.
Right.
You got the shopping cart, there's people, little kids, and it drove me nuts. So yeah. I can totally understand where you were at. Just, for me, a little thing like the store.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, there's a time when the shift comes, right?
Exactly. And
if you're open to that shift, a lot of times that shift is not comfortable, right? It's disorienting. It
right.
gives you vertigo. And sometimes it's terrifying because you realize just what is being asked of you to come back home to be resonant with your higher self. And that's like the call. When the call happens, it can be scary.
Well, and it's not so much that. You're also getting all these outside influences. I mean, I can imagine, because I know I certainly would be. Mm-hmm. Well, what about your mortgage? What
right.
about this?
Right.
What about that?
Absolutely.
The almighty dollar that we make in Silicon Valley.
Absolutely.
People, that's their top priority here.
Well, it was not, that didn't go undiscussed.
Right.
When we talked about it as a family, I mean, I literally said, I'm out.
Right.
My career is, the person that I was is dying.
Right.
And if that means we have to sell our house and move,
right.
that's what it means. Because it's not like I have a choice.
Right.
Because that part of me that could fuel that activity is dying.
Yeah.
And so it has to die. I don't know what, and this was the terrifying part is, I don't know what's going to take its place.
Right.
But that part is dying. And the funny thing about death is you don't know what's going to take its place.
Exactly.
And death is part of the cycle of life. It's part of everything that we are and everything that surrounds us. And when it comes time to die, it's a privilege to die well.
Right.
To let it go. We don't talk about that very much in our culture, and we're not very comfortable with that idea.
Absolutely.
Like I didn't prepare a new resume. I didn't, my friends who said, well, you're leaving, do you want me to forward you some opportunities? I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm dying. I'm dying. So there's I don't want to look, I don't want to think, I don't want to try to salvage something from this old life that isn't naturally going to be salvaged, that isn't naturally going to transmute into new life. I have to let it all go. And that in itself was a lesson, an extraordinary lesson for which I'm very grateful.
So with the shamanism, were you doing that while you were still in high tech?
Well, yes, a little bit, but high tech is so demanding that it's hard to come home at the end of the day and still have energy to do something like this.
I'm with you. I'm in the medical device industry, and it's also that balance between the metaphysical and the scientific.
Yes.
And it is very tough.
It's very tough.
But we do it, and those of us that can do it, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that can't.
Well, I was in the kind of role that I could. It was very challenging. As energetic as I am, I struggled to really give myself to it. My first touch of shamanism was actually when I was in college. When I was a senior in college, I took a class called Native American Philosophy, which just showed up on the course syllabus that semester.
And that was at Cornell.
It was at Cornell.
Yeah.
And it turns out, we read books, and it was a cool topic and so on and so forth. But it was taught by two shamans, actually. The professor was trained in the American Southwest, and the TA was a Lakota Sioux. And so in addition to the readings and the discussions that we had, they actually took us to power places. We went on field trips to power places, and with the express intent of experiencing what it's like to feel the spirits that exist in the shamanic worldview. The two fundamental premises of shamanism is that spirits are real,
right,
and there are techniques that you can use to communicate with them.
Right.
Everything else is really about creating a relationship with tutelary spirits, helping spirits, and learning from them. So this was like a sort of an early experience of mine of touching that. And then about 8 years after I graduated, I was driving through and looked at my old professor and asked him, okay, I want to do more of this. What can I do next? And he said, Shaman's Drum Magazine and Foundation for Shamanic Studies basic workshop in shamanism, Michael Harner's organization. So I pursued, I did that. But, again, and that was like little bit, so I learned and I practiced a little bit, and I tried to stay connected, and I did a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. But it was like, that was the flat part of the curve. And then in 2003, the hockey stick started, and I really started spending more time and energy and resource. And that was the beginning of the transition of my life.
Well, very cool. Now, you brought your friends with you here.
Yes.
And you have a fascinating story about a real revelation regarding one of them. So tell us about that. And then the other one I'm curious about. You said that was a coyote before.
Yes. So we have deer and coyote. Now, so in the period of time post, when I left in November, I started doing a lot of hiking. And I call that my convalescence period. I was really trying to heal myself and put myself back together.
Right.
And so I was going for a hike. Now, I should mention that I grew up in the country, lived my life in the country for up until I went to college, and seen a lot of deer. And deer has been an ally of mine for a very long time in my shamanic work too. But I had actually never seen a buck with antlers in any of my real life experience, nor in any of my shamanic journey work. And I had just recently finished a course, a 2-year program in Celtic shamanism, in which the deer features as the center of the wheel, as the sovereign, right? The sovereign self is represented by the deer. Now, that's not true for all of Celtic lore or anything like that, but that was just how it was shared with me. So deer is, a friend of mine, and deer is the notion of sovereignty, but it was always a feminine presence in my life.
Right.
So I go for this hike, and I'm out of high tech. I'm trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to do with the rest of my life, and I'm walking around, and I tell myself I'm going to stay on the trails, and yet there's this other ally of mine, a bird that is flying around, circling, and I say hello. I say, thank you for welcoming me, but I am not going to follow you. I'm going to stay on the trail. Well, that lasted for about 2 minutes, and I was off the trail, bushwhacking. And every once in a while, I'd see this bird, and I'd say hello, and and I would find myself following this path that this bird was taking me on, through game trails and regular trails and just bushwhacking. Ultimately, I saw this bird down in the valley, in a tree, and I said hello, but that's way too far away. I'm not going down there. I'm just not. I'm not. And proceeded to hike. And this was a pretty long hike. I probably was out there for 5 hours. Anyway, I find this beautiful spot, probably an hour later, I find this beautiful spot. I go into the woods and up a knoll, and I look down the knoll, and there's this sea of green in the middle of the forest. This is beautiful. And I was like, oh, I got to go down there, right? So I go down there, I'm exploring, and I get to one edge of this green patch, and I look up, and there's the tree that the bird had been in. And I'm like, okay, I'm no longer, so now I realize I'm no longer looking for the next trail to go down. I'm actually where they want me.
Right.
And I said, okay, I literally said, okay.
I'm here.
Here I am. Okay, I'm here. Why am I here? I turned 90 degrees to the left, looked down, and he was staring me right in the eyes, right at my feet. I almost fainted. It's just, so here it is, the representation of personal sovereignty in the masculine form. The first time I ever see it is when I'm making this transition out of high tech into my new life. It couldn't have been a more blessed experience for me.
Right.
And a validation of what it means to follow your heart.
Wow.
So it was really amazing.
I love that
and
story.
on the way out of the woods, I found the coyote as well.
Are you sure you weren't in some animal graveyard or something?
No, the coyote was kind of far away from where the deer was. But the other thing about this, and this really is a gift, the coyote is the trickster.
Right.
Right. And so much of my life has been focused on what I think I'm working on, and what I think is best, and the active principle, the driving self. And so many of my lessons, compliments of this guy, are when I realize, I'm actually not working on what I think I'm working on. All of that intense energy that I'm applying to this is just to distract me so that this guy can come up and bite me in the behind.
Yeah.
And that's when the awareness happens. So the trickster energy is that kind of unpredictable gift. The trickster is the gift that shows up in a way you didn't expect it, and at first it seems like it's not a gift. But if you actually have the time and the courage, in some cases,
right,
to look at it, you see how rich a gift, in fact, it really is.
Oh yeah.
And I can tell you, he's pantsed me on many occasions. It's just like, whoop, see, and that's, so I'm getting used to him. Still takes effort.
Well, that's the beauty of a lot of us that have gone through this kind of evolution, and we understand that, we can relate to it, we can see it, and we see it for what it is, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
And it's just, I appreciate
cultivating
it every day.
Cultivating gratitude is probably the number one ticket to happiness, to manifestation, to centering, to finding yourself. I don't know exactly what it is about gratitude that works so well, but it is amazing.
Well, I think what it is I, tell God, the angels, the universe every day how grateful I am. I mean, I just drive through the mountains on my way to work and I'm going, thank you, angels. Thank you for letting me be here. And when we show our gratitude, they bring us more gifts. They go, she gets it.
She gets it, right?
She gets
exactly.
It. So
I think that's has a lot to do with it.
Let's bring it on. And so that is huge. Whenever I do a manifestation workshop, I tell any student that's there, you have to be grateful. You have to show how grateful you are.
Yep.
No matter how pissed off you are, how, in that moment you're just not happening. You've got a roof over your head. You've got food in the refrigerator. You've got people who love you, even though it doesn't feel like it, there still are. The angels are always there. They love you. There's all sorts of things to be grateful for.
And I think that's an important message for people in general, especially now when our old way of living is so challenged and so I won't say compromised because it's actually now we're reaping the harvest of what we've sown. So the unsustainable way of living that is not just localized to Silicon Valley, but is really the whole non-indigenous way of living.
Right.
We've reached the limits of the planet. The planet can no longer serve us in the way that it has so generously served us before. There isn't more to get. So we can either continue to fight and claw and scratch to continue to live in the unsustainable way while everyone else is fighting and clawing and scratching to try to live in the unsustainable way. As the fire burns itself out, everybody's trying to get closer and closer to the center, but it's still burning out. The alternative is to stop trying to get to the center of the fire and start building sustainable fires at the edge to keep us warm.
Also, there's plenty for all of us.
There's plenty for all of us. If we're willing to see that plenty does not mean what we're doing now.
Right.
And that's where the gratitude comes in.
Exactly.
It's like being grateful for the beauty and the joy of life experience, in addition to the joy of having a good warm meal and a roof over your head.
Right.
Is far different from accumulating the things that we are used to accumulating and thinking that that's where our satisfaction comes from.
Exactly. It's just stuff.
It's just stuff.
It's just stuff. And waiting for that next pay increase. And, kind of putting your life in somebody else's hands instead of taking
that's right.
Taking charge.
Well, these realizations come in stages. Sometimes it's lots of small awarenesses, awakenings for people. Sometimes it's a big one. And I think, one of the reasons that I really like doing what I'm doing at Firefly Willows is a place where you can, wherever you are in your path, there's a step that you can take with us. We have lots of different workshops and lots of different practitioners there to help guide and move, help you take your hand.
Right.
And help you take a step forward. Whatever shape that step is and whatever direction you're going, it's nice to have somebody who can give you a hand.
Exactly. And, I really feel that a lot of people are making this shift now. They don't like the way life's been. They realize it's not getting me anywhere. So I think where you're at, and especially in Los Altos, there's a lot of open-minded people there, believe it or not.
Oh,
and it's incredible.
I love Los Altos. It's at the edge of Silicon Valley, so you can still be in Silicon Valley and then take a break and come down to downtown Los Altos and be near the redwoods and be by the hills. And
I grew up there.
It's softer. It's a softer place. That's why it's such a beautiful place to live, and I'm so grateful that I live there.
Well, I know you've got a cute little. We're going to kind of do a little buzz on Firefly Willows now, but you've got a great little store.
Thank you.
what else do you do there?
So we have a retail space where we say the retail is explore the books and tools. And a lot of them are those that are recommended by our practitioners. Then we have the workshop space where you can experience something,
Right.
have an experience that takes you on your next step.
Right.
And then we have 4 therapy rooms that's separate, in a separate part of the operation, where you can establish a relationship with a healer and energize and heal yourself. So explore, experience, energize through books and tools, workshops and classes, or a relationship with a therapist.
And you make it a great, what do I want to say, great forum for other practitioners to get together and meet and get to know each other.
Ultimately, Firefly Willows is about is a community resource. The goal is for it to be a gift to the community, and that includes the healers and the teachers, because we need a place to get together and share and support one another.
Exactly. And it is a wonderful spot. And I know that I've done a workshop there, a Free Friday there, and I really enjoy it. You have a beautiful space there.
Thank you, thank you. We encourage everybody to come on out and see us. Firefly Willows is named Firefly Willows because it's a place where fireflies know how to shine their inner light. So we want to help people learn how to shine their inner light. And the willow tree is a place where you can be safe and still have an adventure. So come on, have an adventure, learn how to shine your inner light.
Great. Now, I see you brought your drum. Were you going to play a little for us?
No, probably not. I just wanted to, because I love it. It's a friend of mine.
Oh,
These are all friends of mine. Well, let me introduce you to my friends. The shamanic drum is a trance-inducing device. That's the way shamanism works. And in studying the Celtic way, a lot of my shamanic work is done drumming and singing. And so I sing. Now it sounds funny, but I actually sing with my drum. The drum has several different overtones in it.
Yeah.
And as I drum, I hear the different voices in the drum, and I sing along with it. And it brings me great joy and puts me in that mood to do healing work and all that stuff. So I love it. And it's actually, I made it out of deerskin, as it turns out.
Wow.
It was a gift from a friend of mine who taught me how to make my drum.
Nice.
It was beautiful.
Well, we're out of time.
Well, that's okay. We'll do it again.
We will do it again, and I want you to come and visit us again because this has been fun, and I've learned a lot.
Oh, I enjoyed sharing the time with you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you very much.
Great. So thank you for joining us. And once again, we're Silicon Valley Metaphysics, the show that explores alternative therapies and practices in the Silicon Valley. Good night.
That was fun. Yeah. I enjoyed that. And I